There is insane stuff out there that you guys don't even know, Transformers stuff that there's Snoop Dogg out there with my Optimus Prime voice calling, all you homies stay high and fly. Like, you never know. There's something out there. And now I figured if I can't be the guy of that voice, if I'm number 11 of 16 Optimus Primes, I'm just gonna go for a record then. So I've actually had over 100 Transformers voice roles so far and counting. So watch out, Steve Bloom, I'm coming for you.
This is the Transformers 1 Q&A panel with our special guests, John Bailey, Jinny Chung, and Josh Cooley. All right.
Greetings.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
All right, let's give it up.
And also welcome Lawrence Fishburne and Steve Buscemi in the spirit.
Welcome to all three of you. Thanks for joining us, and it is such a delight to have you here. Let's get this rolling, man. I know y'all are anxious to get it started. I know y'all got a lot of things I want to ask these three, and let's go ahead and get rolling. So first and foremost, how are y'all doing?
I'm doing great. I just got here.
Yeah?
So, hi, everybody.
All right.
Hello.
You're speaking for all of us now.
I'm speaking for all of us, yeah.
All right.
Doing great.
Great.
Very happy to be here.
All right, so I believe this is your first Botcon.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your first Botcon, Jinny.
Yep.
And John, this is your 27th Botcon.
Before time began, I came to Botcon.
Awesome. So just wanted to go through a ring round with you all and talk about your experiences in the Transformers community. Wanted to talk about your experience with the movie, and just feel free to talk about what you want to talk about. All right, and let's start with our esteemed guest, Josh Cooley.
Yeah.
All right, so Josh,
Yes.
What an amazing movie Transformers 1 was.
Thank you.
We do know that you directed other movies. You did Toy Story 4.
Man, nobody saw those.
I mean, you've had several projects, but be honest with us. What was your absolute favorite project to work on?
I'm not even just saying this. Transformers 1 was fantastic.
There you go.
Answer.
It was correct answer. And I'll say that because the crew besides these two, the crew that we got for this film was incredible. Like every single person, from the voice actors, to the animators, to the lighters, to everybody at ILM, everybody is a fan of Transformers in one way or another. And it was really awesome to, just hear every person's favorite character, or they all have some really emotional or personal story attached to Transformers growing up. And so, our premiere was in New York, and it was 40 years to the day that the first episode aired of the 80s cartoon. And I was like, that's crazy, 40 years. And so there's 40 years of love for Transformers. And so everybody that is now in visual effects and in animation and film, it's part of our lives. So everybody, there's just so much love was brought into the film, and I feel like when I watch it, I can feel that love that everybody has, that they put into it.
Indeed. Jinny, let's talk about the characters you voice. You voice Chromia. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you also voiced
Arcee.
Arcee.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your experience with those two characters.
Well, I was originally hired as a script coordinator for the movie.
Really?
And I didn't even know this guy. I just walked into the studio and I was like, yeah, I'm the script coordinator. Who's this dude? Oh, Toy Story 4, that's cool. All right, who are we recording first? Or whatever. But then throughout, as we're making the movie, we need to scratch temp track of or here's the radio play of the movie.
And in the middle of making this movie, the Super Bowl, and we're watching the Super Bowl and I go, why is Jinny in a commercial for the Super Bowl? During the Super Bowl? She's in, what commercial was it?
It was for DoorDash.
Yeah. I'm like, what is happening right now? And then I come to find out she's a professional actress, and she's been in. What have you been in? List
What you put me on the spot?
What's the big one?
Well, the one I'm most known for, if at all, is for "I Think You Should Leave," which is the one woo. Thank you. The one thing I'm known for, one woo, is "I Think You Should Leave." But also, there are just other shows too. It's you get the audition, you hope you get it, but you just goes into the void, and then sometimes you book it. But then I booked the big time when I got this job as a script cord, because it was like 2 years of really just so much fun. I mean, really late nights, just cracking wise and watching movies together. It was great. But we were making the movie, and I was telling someone this earlier, that in the script and edit department, I'm sitting in the edit bay all day with him and the editors and my supervisor, or I'm just staring at final draft and just staring at the script over and over again on my computer. But meanwhile, the art department, the layout departments, they're doing their thing, all the visual things of the movie. So I wouldn't have identified Arcee in the movie, period, until it came to final lighting shots coming back. And then somebody was like, I just heard someone be like, oh, there's Arcee. And I was like, yeah, I know that. And I know that's a Transformer I know. And then I was like, oh, can you do these lines real quick? Arcee. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then just, again, laying it down as temp track. And then one day, on my last day, you're like, oh, by the way, you're Arcee. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he was like, yeah, but you're Arcee. And I was like, and then I smashed a coffee table. So happy. Yeah.
And just to be clear, what that means, temp track, is we're constantly changing the scripts constantly throughout the entire 4 years. And so I'll be in edit going, oh man, that line should be different, and I'll rewrite it. And then I'll just record if it's Optimus or whoever, I'll just record the line, just my normal dumb voice, into my phone and send it to the editor, and they immediately upload it into our cut, and that way you just get a really rough version up there, and then we'll go and record all the voices. And so I would often call her in, if you weren't there already, and just be like, hey, can you yell this Alita line? So we both read the entire movie in one way or another multiple times.
I think all of us read the whole entire movie one way or another.
Yeah. We put up 8 different versions?
Yeah. And I was only there for maybe 5 of them.
Yeah. So we put the whole movie up 8 times.
So we have potentials for prequels. Nice. All right.
See what I mean? They take what they want. They hear what they want to hear.
Yeah. Because usually, if you for me, if I'm reading it that much and I'm totally vested in it, I find certain things to make prequels out of. Just explain some
Sure.
some back character of certain characters or whatnot. Maybe some characters that didn't get the higher spotlight that some fans think they should have. Is
that what this is about? This is a confrontation?
No. We're not.
It's a trap.
But no. But it's a fandom thing. That's all that is. So, my next question to you was.
I didn't answer the question. I never got to answer that question.
No. Oh, go ahead. Go.
My experience, I first came in very much like the Bumblebee movie, where I have a very, very strict rule. If any actor if they can't or won't, would be the only way that I would do ADR for them. Otherwise, just why don't you just freaking ask them? So when Bumblebee came along, it originally happened where we would need you to fill in for Optimus Prime. Peter can or won't. And I'm like, well, that's great. He's like, he'll come in and finish the thing up at the end. I'm like, cool, I get to fill in with Optimus Prime. I am cool being the understudy for Peter Cullen. That is amazing. Yeah. And as we do with this movie, there was just tons of extra ADR voices. And there was a lot of stuff that got cut. Starscream actually had a line, which I always thought was cool. Somebody's phone is ringing. Ironhide had a line. There was all these other characters. And we recorded a little bit of everybody, kind of like what we did with this movie. And we didn't know until towards, literally just a few months before release, who's going to be what. And so the same thing happened with this film. I was like, hey, we've got this new film. They originally told me it's going to be like the opening scene of Bumblebee movie, but the whole film. So my brain had a little bit of different idea in mind. But then when I saw it, I'm like, I like this so much better. So they were like, we're going to have you come in and just fill in for Chris Hemsworth to do Orion Pax and Optimus Prime's voice, which a lot of people don't even realize that I did. And it's a lot of fun doing that job. It pays the bills, and it gives me a chance to work on my freaking favorite brand. But he always had these, he's got to try out the security guy, try out this guard guy. We all record for all these other different voices, and it's just amazing to watch from the early concept stuff to actually seeing it start to come to, and then seeing final bits, and then seeing it in the theater. Just watching it from beginning to end was one of the most coolest experiences I've ever been on any film, and I've worked on quite a few, from animatics to storyboards and on, and that was the coolest. I even dare say epic. But with Bumblebee movie, they only had like it was like a CD-ROM rough animatic, and it was still like one of the coolest things I've ever seen, but that's all I ever got to see until the film came out. And in the early screening that I got an accidental screening too. They hadn't finished quite the animation stuff, but with this one, I got to see the entire thing transform from beginning to end, and it was just, going from fandom to professional, it was the best experience I've ever had working.
It was always very obvious. I'd come into the booth and show him, like, here's what we're working on, and just to see his drool level, I could tell whether we were doing a good
It was
job.
like Sinners. I'd been bitten by a vampire. I was like,
So I want to get this out there because you are the epic voice guy. Okay.
That's my brand that stuck.
But John, but with John has been with us since, for a lot of years. And, he started out as a fan. He came up into this and to where he is now. John, can you talk about that journey? I know you talked about it, pretty much, but can you give a more detailed travel into your journey as a fan to getting to where you are now?
Sure, I'll keep it brief though, because this is a group panel, but the condensed version would be that I started off just 4 years old. There it was. My mom took me down the shelf, and it was back then they had one aisle for toys. It was a boy side and a girl side, and then bicycles was the next aisle. And I stood directly between G.I. Joe, like there was a line. Joe's were on this side, Transformers are on that side. My mom says, pick one. That's what we're sticking with. And my undiagnosed spectrum brain saw that toy as a puzzle, a vehicle, and a robot with a really cool package, and that's got a lot of little tiny parts. I'm going to go with that one. So I got the Bumblebee toy, and I was a fan of the toys first, and then I saw the cartoon, and I had already heard Peter Cullen's voice in Voltron, Defender of the Universe. And I was like, I want to be that one day, that voice that make people go, what the frack was that? That face. And I didn't really know what that meant, really, So when I heard him in Transformers, I was immediately hooked. So I ended up being a fan of the cartoons and then the comic books. Back when there was only one run of comic books for Transformers, so I could keep up with the story. And eventually, when the internet was invented by Al Gore, we looked up like who did what, and that information didn't exist. The old cartoon just had a list of names. There was Michael Bell. We didn't know who was who. For the longest time, I thought that I thought Jack Angel was actually Optimus Prime for a while. And then my brother worked for this company called ODP, which is a third-party subsidiary of Google, who helped compile information. So when you search things in Google, they show up. So he was like the first guy to find a picture of Lorenzo Music, the voice of Garfield. The guy did not like his picture being made. So we started kind of figuring out Michael Bell is Prowl, and so on and so forth. And then I just started getting good at doing that stuff. I was a very competitive kid, undiagnosed, as I said, autistic, and my mom's like, I can do Grover's voice. I'm like, I bet I can do it better than her. So I just kind of started doing voices that way, and I still have my original Fisher-Price tape recorder. I used to take the coloring books or any of the non-main stuff for the Transformers, and I would record myself doing all the characters, no camera, but still acting it out with the toys for some reason. And I just kind of became like, I wanted to create. I loved creating, but I also collected a little bit too. But at 18, I came along. I got to go to college. I sold my original set. The guy was very nice. He gave me a fair price, looked it up and everything. And it helped me get through.
I still have it.
Got me through a month of college. And then the internet, the YouTube thing kind of exploded. And I had fans like some of you who did like the toy review thing or the YouTube thing, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make a video of a thing I can go to the store and look at myself. I was like, okay, I'll do it, but I'll make fun of you guys. So I invented this whole Prime Reviews thing, which is Optimus Prime. I put on some dumb gloves, and I would make fun of every toy, no matter how good it was, unless it was an Optimus Prime toy. And no matter how bad it was still the best toy ever because it was Optimus Prime. Yep. And I thought, okay, well, this will be my end. If I want to work for them, I'm just going to make some great videos, and by the time the fandom will be like, you got to get something. I thought maybe I get free toys or get a voice in a commercial or something. And I collected tons and tons of stuff to make content for, I thought, 10 plus years. Within 2 years, my voiceover career had caught up with my social media career, and Machinima had put me into Combiner Wars. And as soon as Hasbro heard what I could do, they're like, we would like to work with you on other things. And it just branched. There is insane stuff out there that you guys don't even know, Transformers stuff that there's Snoop Dogg out there with my Optimus Prime voice calling, all you homies stay high and fly. Like, you never know. There's something out there. And now I figured if I can't be the guy of that voice, if I'm number 11 of 16 Optimus Primes, I'm just going to go go for a record then. So I've actually had over 100 Transformers voice roles so far and counting. So watch out, Steve Bloom. I'm coming for you.
Nice. Josh, okay, so we got Transformers 1 out the way, and it's a booming freaking hit. What's next for you? Transformers 2? Maybe? Yeah.
I wish I had something to announce, but I do not. As far as I know, what I've been told is that Paramount Animation is not interested in making a sequel to it. So,
What?
but there's other.
But I got the van.
Don't worry. Don't worry. We got security for you. We're good. So yeah.
That's what I was told. But there's. Hey, I wish
Anyway.
we could. I have ideas too, so it would have been cool. We'll see what happens. Never know.
I have a whole bunch of ideas for you too, because I already planned out the next 5 films for you. I got no problems there.
Well,
We're writing partners now.
Well, I can truly say, and on behalf of everyone here, I think you did an amazing job with this movie, and thank you very much for all your contributions to what we did.
I mean, the fact that this room is packed, and every time there's a Transformers 1 panel, it's been packed compared to the other panels. You guys being here, this many of you, shows how great this movie really was. So thank you, Josh. We
made it for you guys, honestly. Like, we're fans as big as you are, so.
So we're going to go ahead and take questions from the audience, and I'm going to start from, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to turn around, and then I'm going to start working my way to the back, okay? And start here.
Hi.
Let's keep it quick.
Yep. Hello.
Hi. Had we gotten maybe sequels of more Transformers 1, how would you introduce, say, Galvatron?
I'm not going to tell you what I'm thinking of. In case I get a chance to do it, I don't want to give it away.
Who would you cast as, say, for example?
I'm not going to tell you anything.
All right, I'll throw out a fan thing just to if Hasbro's truly moving in the gaming as like they say they're going to instead of films, how cool would a AAA Transformers 2 game be where you could play as these characters and see Cyber? I think that would be amazing.
Hey, I'm all for Transformers 1 game. That'd be awesome.
And we can put that movie in the cutscenes.
You know what I want them to do, actually? What I was hoping that would happen is that Universal's Transformers ride would get redone as Transformers 1.
Okay, if you don't have a 40X theater, holy crap. Better than the Universal ride. I agree with you.
Just wondering if we can get a preview of the honest trailers for Transformers 1.
They'll never do that because the movie's perfect.
It is perfect.
This movie is perfect. The end. The casting choice for Soundwave was perfect.
Dude, you have to do that now. That's so good.
What was your reaction to being asked to make a Transformer movie?
Oh, great question. So I finished Toy Story 4, and I was trying to figure out. I'd been at Pixar for 18 years, so I was like, okay, what do I possibly do now? I started out as an intern working on the first Incredibles movie, and then storyboarding through like everything up until Toy Story 4, and I didn't know. I was like, how do I possibly? What do I do now? And so I got the script for untitled Transformers animated film, and read it, and I was like, this is different from everything else that's been done with Transformers. This is interesting. It was not exactly like what the finished film, but I was like, okay, this is not what it wouldn't have been something I thought I would ever go into directly, but when I read the script, I was like, I kind of could see the kind of epic biblicalness, Cain and Abel version of this, which is pretty cool and never been done before. So,
by the way, the duality of oh my gosh, you got to rewatch it again and again. He catches Megatron at the beginning during the race and saves his life. At the end, Megatron catches him and lets him. It's just D16, Orion Pax. There's just so much duality through that. I freaking loved that.
There's a couple times when D16 says like, "I'm going to kill you," like as a joke, like, "I'm going to kill you."
Yeah, you
But
can
then-
see it. Like,
Yeah,
it's
so
so good.
I love all those little story things where you like can.
Speaking of the one we were mentioning earlier, would you mind telling the scene that got cut? There's a really great scene that got cut, guys. I'm sad that it wasn't in the film, but there's a Easter egg of it still in the final film.
At the very beginning, so we were trying to figure out ways to make Orion Pax and D16 best friends right away and make it really understandable and kind of feel natural. And so you guys remember when, what's his name?
You can't remember the character's name. Isaac Singleton Jr. is your hint.
Yeah. So
Darkwing,
he gets thrown by Orion and crashes into that video game console. We had a whole thing where the two of them were playing Darkwing.
Darkwing.
We had a whole thing where Orion and D16 were playing that game like side by side, like 80s arcade style. And you could see the game, and it looked like Street Fighter, but it was with all primes fighting each other. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Megatron was playing as Megatronus Prime, the greatest Prime who ever lived.
Yeah.
And it was very relatable, especially to.
And that was the most important thing. I know there's questions, but like it was, how do we take a world that's on a different planet, alien planet from Mars, and make it as relatable as possible to Earth? And so that was one of those ways.
It made me very happy that the arcade machine still made it into the movie, though.
Okay, I'm gonna try to run through these questions real quick. It's just technical stuff. Oh, so one, never mind. In terms of animation production, average amount of time, since I know you've done motion capture for this, so.
That's a big one big question. The motion capture was just for previs. It wasn't actually for the animation. But so to answer your question, I spent 4 years on the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's about average for an animated film for a director.
So just one scene would be average time?
There's no way. One scene could be two people standing there, or it could be an entire race
Battle
with
or
other.
something. Yeah.
That just takes much longer. So it depends.
Amazing stuff, though. It's an amazing movie anyway, so you really spent your time on that.
Thank you. Thanks.
If Paramount doesn't want to fund this, though, I will send them the video of the crowd absolutely losing their minds when you announce that, if you want.
Now on Kickstarter.
However, I was curious, when you saw the script and you were working on the movie, how much of the Covenant of Primus book fed into that script? Was it completely unrelated? Or, I mean, assuming it isn't.
I don't think I ever read the Covenant of Primus book. What is that? Sorry.
Did the scriptwriters ever?
I don't know.
I can tell you a tiny Easter egg about this. You all might know him, but you might not. Jim Sorensen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody call it. He invented the Cybertronian language. He didn't even know it was included in the film until you went to see it in the theater. He was like, I made that! Because it's on all the buildings.
I may have read it because Hasbro gave me this PDF that had everything Transformers in it, which may have been that.
Yeah, it's from Alpha Triumph's perspective, first person.
Oh, no, that's awesome. I did not read that.
So it's like a Tolkien type thing?
Okay, that's awesome.
I lost Derek. Where is he? Oh, there he is.
One thing which was a really great choice was with Transformers 1 was that it was the first Transformers movie to not have a single human character in it. And I was just kind of wondering, it seemed like the powers that be behind the scenes always seem to feel we need a human connection to this story, and kind of window into that. I just wondered if there was any pressure or discussion to try and incorporate humans, because you absolutely just do writing and people care about the characters. So I was just curious if that was always the plan or any pushback.
That was always the plan. It was one of the reasons I wanted to do the movie, was because you didn't have to rely on that. And honestly, with the live action ones, it's so expensive to do the visual effects of the bots that they need to cut away from the bots to show something. And so that's why the humans are such a big deal in the live action ones. But yeah, for this film, I was like, we've got these great characters. Let's let the movie be about them.
So many questions.
In the other movies there are humans, so I was wondering, in this movie there were no humans and it doesn't take place on Earth at all. So I was wondering how so if you do make a sequel, will it talk about how they got to Earth and and there were humans and stuff? Because it just doesn't make sense that there are no humans in the.
Well, you have to make a sequel
My
now.
heart is so warm right now.
In the prequel and
Best question ever.
and in all the other movies there are no humans.
That is a great question.
You got your work cut out for you, buddy.
I think maybe, yeah, who knows?
I am curious, though. We had biological life on the surface. Is there oxygen on?
Next question.
Can humans breathe? These are the honest trailers things that they would ask me.
As this is your second directing gig for Transformers 1, I wanted to know, what were some of the challenges you face, not just with Transformers 1, but with Toy Story 4, in regards to the history behind it, like doing the research for it, be it with the original trilogy of Toy Story and literally everything in Transformers, the comics, the Covenant,
Yeah.
etc.
There's a great question. There's two big. So there's a difference with Toy Story. I was there during the third one. I was working with Lasseter and Joe Ranft was my mentor, and worked with Andrew Stanton. All the guys that created the very first Toy Story, I was working with them on Toy Story 4 for the most part. So I can ask them directly, and they can tell me, like, here's why we made these decisions back in 1995, 94. With Transformers, it's a sandbox, man. It is just, there's so many different versions of things and so many different takes on it that at first I was like really concerned, like, how the heck am I going to take this huge thing and try and condense it into 88 minutes? And it became clear, like, there's no wrong way to do it. You know, you can kind of take, it's like a salad bar. You can take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that. And as long as it felt like it was the world, then Hasbro was kind of cool with it, you know. And so it was very, very awesome to see what had been done before in the other films. And just, I didn't read everything. I wish I'm reading the comics now, which is really exciting. But yeah, it was so much fun. I didn't expect it to be as fluid as it was.
All right. So, no humans. We got that. We understand that, right? We're good. But two prominent humans that are part of the Transformers lore, and one of them have a question. Go ahead, Sparkplug.
Thank you. Thanks for taking my question. Really quick, I love the movie, but I also absolutely love the song that you did at the end, If I Fall. And I just wanted to hear a little bit about the thought process in creating that and finding, the musicians to do that and walk through that process.
So that was written and partially performed by Brian Tyler, who did the score for
It was epic, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, God. And so he said, I want to write a song for this. After hearing what he did for the score, I'm like, absolutely, you're the best person to do it. Because I wanted to make sure it felt like it belonged with our film and not just some other random song that somebody attached to it. And so he really worked in the theme from the movie into the song, and then he called personal favors just to get people to sing on it.
I loved the Transform the Dark, the song that Brian Tyler did for the Decepticons, the High Guard reveal. Oh, that just freaking cool.
Yeah, the score was dope too. And that If I Fall is actually on my playlist
I love
for
that
when I work
mix
out.
of like techno and orchestra. That's great.
So I don't know if this was like corporate mandated or not, but Bumblebee was in the movie and he didn't really feel like he belonged in the movie, I guess. So if you didn't have to...
That's Paramount calling you right now.
if you didn't...
Michael Bay would like a word.
If you didn't have to include Bumblebee, what character would you replace him with if you didn't have to put Bumblebee in there so they could sell merchandise?
I don't ever remember anybody telling me I had to do it.
I'm not trying to start fights in here, but let's go to the next question.
Mirage. There you go.
Why did why'd you not make D16 a gladiator in the pits of Kaon like in Transformers Prime?
Good question.
I wasn't going to ask that question because that sounds like a sequel question.
No. Well, so we had a gladiator fight at one point as a nod to that. So the real reason is because I needed Orion Pax and D16 to start in the same place. And in order to be best friends, they need to be on the same level. They need to be like brothers. So to have them, one of them be a gladiator, another one be a clerk, data clerk, like it started them in a totally different area. And it would have taken a much longer time to make that story happen. So that was the real reason. But we did have a gladiator fight when they got taken by the Decepticons. It was like they were thrown into, do you remember what it was called?
I don't remember. I just remember it was like sequence 1600 Gladiator.
It was pretty crazy. Like Soundwave was DJing it and stuff. It had some fun stuff. Deathsaurus was in there.
That version skewed very young.
Yeah.
I had a fan theory that, because my brain just keeps on going with the story regardless of what's out there or whatever, but my fan theory was Megatron afterwards becomes this little rebellious group of they keep on trying to have problems while Orion Pax Optimus starts to learn how the leadership works, and he's got another council, and he starts like, what are we going to do with Megatron? He's causing problems, and they capture him eventually, throw him in K-On! As punishment. He's like, you're really going to do this to me? Like you're cool with this? And then the Quintessons come in, maybe. The Quintessons come in, and then all of a sudden they got to work together again to fight for the greater good of the planet. That's where I kind of thought that might go. If K-On! Ever came into play, that would make sense.
That's something.
You're welcome.
Let me get back here.
Nothing to take away from the great voice actors you had for the movie, but was there ever a pitch to have any of the original voice actors maybe reprise a role, like a little surprise?
Yeah, so I got to tell you, the second I signed on the dotted line that I'm going to make this movie, and then it was like Orion Pax and D16, and I realized that they have to be younger. They have to sound younger than what we know them to be in order to buy that they are actually growing as characters. And I was like, okay, now how the hell do I cast this movie? Like this, like I literally could not sleep. It was in my brain. I could not sleep. So to answer your question, yes, we had a couple of different discussions on how to incorporate them. There becomes a thing where it's like it becomes fan service in a not a good way. Like the Mario movie, having the original guy play the dad. You're like, okay, why couldn't he play the Mario? That kind of thing. So I have future ideas that I would love to see happen. I would love to work with the original voice actors, of course. They're my Transformers, So, but I'm very happy with the leads we have with Chris and Brian and Scarlett. They did what I thought was a phenomenal job.
I did do one thing to mess with Josh while we were there. So I just wanted to hear what it would sound like.
One thing?
Just one thing. That was the only time I just actually did it on purpose. So when we got to where Orion becomes Optimus, and we were doing the lines, I was like, I just want to see what it sounds like if Chris turns into Peter. So as we were doing the takes, I believe the line was, we stand here together as one. So we start off as his regular hero voice. We stand here together as one. And his face, like, did you just do what I think you did? I was like, let's see if Chris Hemsworth can do that.
He kind of did it.
He did pretty good.
That is him at the end. There's no Peter in there at all. And I remember the first time, so when we would record him, he lives in Australia, and so he was like, why don't you just come out here, mate, come with me. I'm like, all right. And so I'd fly to Australia and go to his house, and the first time we recorded, we were just doing a run through of the whole thing, and he did that end kind of speech, and he started to get the cadence of it in there, and I was like, well, what are you doing? Because I literally got goosebumps. I was like, what are you doing right now? And he's like, I just thought I'd give it a shot. And I was like, I'm like, no, let's keep doing that. Like, I want to see where this could go. And so it was like now finding the balance, like when that could actually happen. But that he surprised me. I didn't think.
Well, that was my fan question, because it sounded like he was pitched almost, and he did that for real. Yeah, that was him. Impressive. Very impressive, Chris.
This is probably a basic question.
He's going to make it. He's going to do okay.
I think he'd be all right.
Yes.
This is probably a basic question, but what are your 3 favorite bots, all 3 of you?
Shockwave, but Soundwave is just like that much. They're so tight, I can't remember.
Oh, favorite bots? Let's say, Ironhide. That's one, right?
That is one. She's a Robot-saurus.
That's 2. And Alita was great.
Yeah. I love Lita. I love Starscream. I've always loved just because he's such a great character. Number 2, that's always trying to be number 1, is just you just love that. And then Optimus Prime.
Yeah, he's the best.
Where was Ravage, Laserbeak, and Rumble and Frenzy during Transformers 1?
We had this conversation, actually. Can I say what you actually said? Because it cracked me up, because a lot of fans would think it's like, he's like, so where are the little guys? Where are the little men?
Who said that?
You said that.
I said that?
Yeah, you said it was like, because like you were asking me like, where do they stay? Or I was like, well, I was like, I think my answer was like, basically the animal robots kind of just chill, you know. But I feel like it would be a little weird to have little men in your chest all the time. They're usually running around.
I knew that though. I knew they were.
I know,
but
you were asking because we were like, they're not really in this movie, but like, where are the little guys?
Where would
most
they
of
be?
the time?
There was no reason to reuse them, honestly, and so I didn't want to just have them show up just because. So I felt like let's make it a real cool thing, a real reason to have it.
I kind of wondered if we find out before he meets them, or how does that happen?
That's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, are they his babies? Like, how does that work? Do you like pull off a part and it turns into another Transformer?
Say Shockwave, I'm pregnant.
Shockwave, I'm pregnant. It's not mine.
Wish I hadn't said that.
With quadruplets. There's so many questions. Holy cow.
Where'd the microphone
I can't find Derek.
Did he leave?
No, Derek.
Oh, he's back there.
There he is. Question. There we are.
Oh. So it was about Bumblebee. I really loved, the backstory that he was given in Sub-Level 50 and stuff. So I was wondering, how did he get Energon while he was down there? Did the supervisors give him Energon, or did he have to cannibalize corpses?
So we had a scene where they come down there and he's excited to have them hang out, and then he's just like, "You guys thirsty?" And he goes, "Over here, stand right here." And he'd open his mouth, and it was just like dripping from the ceiling.
As if you couldn't make us feel sorrier for him. So my wonderful girlfriend pointed out something I don't think a lot of people noticed. If you look very closely in his room, he's welded in. All the hinges have been welded. So they locked him in that room. He's like, "Oh, there's only one way out. You got to go through the garbage chute." They did not want him down there.
Yeah, we were just trying to make it as sad as possible.
I know. I felt sadder for Bumblebee than I did for all of the Peter Parkers.
I was just wondering, one of the things any good Transformers media has is it brings something new to the table. And one of the things I think that really Transformers brought that was new to the table was how Cybertron, the atmosphere, the world, how it's just constantly transforming, shifting, moving, every single thing, just constantly moving. And even the stuff that they built themselves, the cities, everything's just constantly moving, the generating roadways, and of course, the forest and the deer and everything. I'm just wondering, what was the, is there anything behind that that coming up with, because that's such a unique thing that had never really been done before. And I think that really needs to be, it's credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, just real quick, I noticed there was some behind the scenes stuff, like the plot, originally was going to go in so many different ways in the early development. I'm just wondering, does that happen a lot in movies?
Yeah. In animated films, you can change things up into the last minute. It's a blessing and a curse. It's just possible to make a lot of changes. To back up with your question about Cybertron, one of the reasons I wanted to do this, I was like, I don't remember seeing Cybertron on screen where it kind of looks amazing and kind of looks awesome, because that is what they're fighting for the entire time. They're fighting for their home. So it has to look great. The audience has to go oh, I want to see that. I want to be there. You want to understand why they love it. And so animation's a perfect way to go, let's make a world that they couldn't do as easy in live action. And so we had it even more. There was in the city, the buildings were turning and changing. Like it was actually like too much. Like you would get nauseous if you were to actually see it like that. But yeah, I wanted the transforming on the surface of the planet to feel as natural as like the wind or like waves like on our planet. So it just naturally happened.
And IMAX 3D, wow. It was the best way to see that. Holy
ILM killed it.
So we're coming down to time. We may have time for maybe
Speed
two
round.
questions. All right. So this is the speed round. So as usual, I'm going to be screening your questions before you, just to make sure that they can actually answer them. And then let's get with this young gentleman right here.
So, you know how like the Autobots and Decepticons in like the 4 journeyers are uneven? If you had to make it even by adding 2 Decepticons, who would they be?
Next.
Adding him to the journey, is that what you said?
Basically, you have Optimus, Orion.
Oh, I got you. I understand.
If you can make them even, who would the 2 Decepticons
Shockwave
be?
and Soundwave.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Thank you. The best ones.
Hi.
Hi.
Was there like a specific part when you were like making the movie that made you realize, oh, this is like gonna be a really good movie?
Thank you for the compliment. I think, like a specific moment.
I told him that as soon as I saw the first second. I'm like, this is amazing.
I think it's always, you never know for sure, right? Because you're on it for so long and you're like, I don't even know what I'm making anymore after a certain point. But when you show it to people and showing it to like Lawrence Fishburne and him going, oh my God. Oh, like that.
And words we can't say here.
Yeah. That's when you kind of, you want to gauge other people's reactions. And that's when you kind of go like, okay, I think this might work.
At every screening we went to, the fans or not fans, everybody just freaking loved it. Everybody was just nuts. At the end of it, a great movie is a great movie when they just do not stop talking about it when they leave the theater.
For the 2 of you on the sides, is it
Thank you.
Is it ever kind of surreal, or is it just always cool seeing merchandise, whether it be toys or just product placements or stuff for characters that you voiced? And is it just is there anything else that's happened that you wanted to see more of? Are there like anything that they haven't done for that movie product wise?
John, this is definitely a you question, buddy.
Definitely want to see happen.
Well, I don't think either of us have a lot of toys for the characters that we voiced for. It took me almost 20 years to get a voice in a Transformers toy, so you're welcome for the Boptimus Prime. There's just not a lot of... I'm just really happy that Blockies is here. They got the Transformers 1 Soundwave with the lights on it. That's really cool. By the way, if you get one from them, sign it for free. You're welcome. I would love to see a transforming Soundwave because the ship mode was freaking cool, and honestly, his powers, his abilities were far cooler than I've ever seen them done for Soundwave in anything before. The fact when he can tell people are lying or not, he's got his cool like sound blaster weapon thing to like knock off their shackles, but not hurt anybody. I thought that was dope. So yeah, I would love to see a Shockwave and a Soundwave toy that actually transformed because that was a great Shockwave design too. But as far as characters go, I'd love to see some Funko Pops. Where are they at? That seems like it'd be a no-brainer for those guys.
This is going to be our final question for the show.
I think one of my favorite parts of the movie was how you made the transformation feel so intrinsic to, so natural to like their being, and how it was incorporated into the fights. How did you develop that feeling for that the transformation animations for like such a non-human type of animation, but how did you make that feel so natural, if that makes sense?
Great question. That was one of the things I wanted to do, with the live action films. those are all about the humans comparison to the robots, and so it makes sense to do big sweeping 360 shots that the camera goes inside the characters and all that kind of stuff. And that's also a way to swap out the models during the transformations. I challenged my art team. I said, I want to see a character run, jump, transform, and fly off in the same shot from a distance. And because we're on their planet, it should be as natural as skipping. Yeah, as walking to a run or something like that. And so they were like, okay, we'll figure it out. And good luck. And then my lead character designer, Amy, at ILM, she was like, here's a design for, and later on I'll show you some stuff from it, but she's like, here's Starscream, like that looks great. Here's his ship version, like that's awesome. And she goes, and it works. Like, what are you talking about? She goes, it transforms 1-to-1 from that into that. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she showed me the animation and it works. And I was like, that is so cool. She basically designed the toy.
And one thing that I, as a fan, and I'm pretty sure I speak for a lot of other fans, that we loved seeing so much of the transformations included in their fighting, and
that was
using the transformation to actually as a move to destroy a bad guy or moving his head out of the way. All of that, ripping the tank cannon off, and then he throws it back and it sticks on and that was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was like, this is a Transformers movie. We can get any two people to stand up and punch each other.
Exactly.
Like, they have to transform in order to fight. Like, that's just one of the rules. And so, just giving that to all the animators, and they're like, yeah. What if he does? What if he did? You know, when you were playing with the toys as a kid. What if he does this and he goes over there? It was exactly like that. With 50-year-old men.
A quick Bumblebee note: the director or the writer for it, I got to interview. She wanted to include Bumblebee mistransformed at some point where he didn't quite fit together, because that was the one thing she remembered from the toys as a kid, is that sometimes the panels wouldn't quite go together. So I feel like this was the best you guys ever did with this. Like, my head.
That was where that whole scene came from. Was most of mine were halfway in between somewhere.
Even the advertisements had a mistransform sometimes.
All right, so that's going to wrap up the end of our panel. I'd like to thank everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Give it up for Jinny Chung, John Bailey, and Josh Cooley.
Thank you for a good night.